Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to make a start. I know we've got a couple more people just logging on, but they can join in as we get going. I don't want to keep everyone here longer than they have to on such a hot day. So just a quick introduction from myself. My name's Dan Little. I'm a business development consultant with InShip. Today I'm joined by Adrian Kelehan, and he's going to give us a bit of an insight into best practice around artificial intelligence in accounts payable. So Adrian, I don't know if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your background, and we can get cracking.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Welcome everyone, and again, I appreciate people taking the time out on such a lovely day to sit through this. Firstly, as Dan says, I'm basically by profession I'm an accountant. I have been an accountant for got far too many years, but one thing I did is I worked in many different industries, and mainly focusing on companies in trouble and using IT to solve their problems, and to come up with better ways of working, faster ways of working, and giving more information from basically less action. And through that time, I sort of looked at different areas of businesses and put in some radical ways of actually saving costs for an organization.
Perfect. So what we're going to try and accomplish on this webinar, we'll try and keep you here no longer than kind of 30 minutes, 45 minutes at a max. If you've got questions, there's a Q&A box down the bottom, so just ping them in there. I'll be keeping an eye on those to ask Adrian as we're going along. And what we're going to try and do is show you just some of the benefits to how you could improve your finance system at your own work. So, Adrian, obviously you're the founder of InShip. Can you just give us a little bit of a history of where the idea came from and how you've been tackling the issue?
Yeah, yes. The original idea actually goes back a long time. At the time, I was working in the UK. And I worked for a company that supplied Tesco's. And at that time, Tesco's, this is pre-internet, Tesco's used to have us enter our invoices on their system manually as a supplier to them. And then on the other side, my father had a small corner shop, and he was spending his nights basically entering invoices onto his computer system, but he was doing it himself in a slow, methodical way. And I always said this is something that should be able to be automated, and should be able to do and come up with a clever way of doing it. And as time went on, it's always something that stuck in the back of my head. And I developed different projects, launched those projects, sort of made some inroads into different things. But I kept on sort of coming back to this one problem, and I couldn't really see anyone come up with a clever solution for it, or a solution that suited small, medium, and large-sized business in a way that had to deal with. Everyone has a different way of handling invoices, and what InShip had to do was come up with a process that handled invoices totally different from one set in a structure that basically made sense, but allowed people to customize it on a company by company basis, and put their logical reasons in. Like, some companies have to watch out for being hit by price increases unexpectedly by suppliers. Other companies have highly confidential documents, a lot of HR documents that they don't want even those to flow through the AP system, but they are AP documents. And like they can range in different things, people getting medicals done, or people basically getting hired and they don't want the salaries known by the organization, etc., etc. So we needed to build a system that allowed us to do all of these things. At the same time, we have to match purchase orders to invoices. We have to display information, and we're trying to display and give more information than what you would get from a piece of paper.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously every business out there is going to be completely different. So, I mean, is there a particular industry that InShip focuses on, or have you kind of adapted?
Well, like in reality, we purposely don't focus on an industry. In reality, if you focused on an industry, you'd still get a lot of variance in it. But we purposely focused on a range of industries to try and actually get all the problems, solve all the problems, and actually sort of go forward. And you have some organizations that their invoices have to be sent all over the world based on different things, and different people have to approve it. And you have other companies that are quite small, and all the invoices go to the accounts payable person and they approve all of them and maybe send 2 or 3 to an MD for approval. You have other companies that, as I said, everything goes up against a purchase order, and if it matches to a purchase order that has been goods received in, no one needs to see the invoice. So you have a huge variation going on there. And InShip is designed to allow you to do that and to speed up the process as well.
Okay, so I mean, for those who are on the call, maybe a little bit like myself, who've never really dealt personally in the front line of invoice management, could you just share with us your experience of kind of how cumbersome a manual process could be and how that can be simplified?
Yeah, there is sorry, it just popped away there. There's a sort of little movie that we have, or sort of a slide that we have that shows the effect or the different processes between automatic and manual. So if you look at the screen here, what you have on the bottom is you have a manual process where an invoice is generated, it's printed, post is open, it's sorted by a person, it's matched to some other document. It then needs to get approval, data entry happens, the system approval happens on it to make sure that everything's okay. The document's filed and then reconciled away. And you can look at that process and sort of, you can sort of say most organizations, they might be able to cut out 1 or 2 of them, but in reality, they have to do, out of those 10 items, they normally have to do at least 8 of them. While in an automatic process, the invoices are coming into the system. They're being automatically read when they come in. And so basically they're sent to the person who needs to approve them. The person approves them, and then the system pushes them and uploads them to the accounts package. So like what's really sort of intriguing here is on the automatic process, there is 1 manual operation, while on the manual process, there's one automatic process. And when you're looking at the invoices flowing, like we've got this here, and this really favors the manual process over the automatic processes. If you just let time go on, you see that basically manually you're processing a much smaller number of invoices than you were automatically. We're showing here a 4-to-1 ratio. In reality, it's probably actually a 5 or even 10-to-1 ratio, depending on the system that you have. Like if you think about it, how many invoices can you just with a click tick process in the time that you have to ask or bring an invoice to somebody for approval? If it automatically lands on their desktop and they do the approval, you're not even doing the bookkeeping for it. So that's where you're sort of getting a huge benefit, and these rules can be set up straight away. So when this invoices come in, AI is reading it, grabbing off the important information. You've got control over that in relation to your allowed review, how it's set up. And if it's something unusual on yours, you can change that. But like sort of with AI, and the great thing about AI is over time, that gets better and better and better and better. Like when we put AI originally into our system, we are grabbing the invoice number and dates, and now we're sort of going down and we're getting more of the totals. We're working on getting the table content off it. So you're getting more and more items off an invoice artificially, and that actually sort of speeds up the process for you. But with the InShip method, it allows you to confirm that we're grabbing the right stuff, confirm it on one invoice, and then it basically goes on from that supplier from then on.
Okay. I mean, we've had a question that's popped up around removing paper, with paper obviously being the old way of processing things. I know just from past experience that we used to have filing cabinets in one of my old works that just took up a lot of room. Now, I think the understanding from the question is that those documents need to be kept for a certain number of years. How do you combat with that?
Basically, we store those documents for 7 years. We store them online. They're accessible at all times, no matter what. And in reality, revenue, like all revenues, are happy with that. So when the invoices are coming in, they're stored online. You've got full access to them forever. So those big filing cabinets, or those archives that are kept in the storeroom, that if you ever have to go back and get an old document, they're gone. Everything is stored online. You can search for it. There's a very strong search engine. If someone said to you, listen, I want you to go out and get every electricity bill that we incurred in the last 2 years, that's nearly half a day.
Yeah.
To try and go get the reference numbers, dig into that. And it's not a usual request, but it does happen. But in reality, with InShip, that's a query. You actually get the answers to that question, get those documents quicker than you would actually even standing up to try and go and get them. And I always remember one of the first customers we went to just before we arrived. They had built this massive wall to store all of their lever arch files, and in reality, they never used it because InShip came in and basically got rid of the files that they were going to put there, and now they've lovely pots and plants. So it's actually a nice office to work from. And now those people have moved on and they're now working from home. So it's actually sort of moves on bit by bit. And so it's still I don't know why, it's a while since I've been there, so I don't know how that space is being used, but it did move over time into much nicer than basically row after row after row of black lever arch file.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's you mentioned the challenge there of people now having to work from home. I mean, have you encountered much in the way of specific challenges?
The answer to that is really no. We've actually found that this has actually helped us in a lot of ways. It's made our onboard processing much easier. Our training is actually done much easier because we used to go out and do a period of time training, which is half a day or a day training. Now we do it in installments through Zoom. And you get a piece and we move it on from that. And because of the fact that people are even getting their invoices to be emailed to them much easier, because the phone call beforehand is, please send your invoice by email, threat because we won't pay, we won't do this. Now this sort of says, listen, it's going to sit in the office and no one's going to get it. It's not going to be processed. So if you send it in by email, we get it automatically and we process it for you. So even that side is sort of made easier. And we've had a number of projects that were sort of were penciled in for later on in the year that people have actually pulled back basically people have pulled in, and we're now doing them now rather than in 2 or 3 months' time, because they see this is a good time to do it, and also that they're going to need it now, and they know they're going to be doing this. Probably this working from home thing will be forced upon us for the next, I would say, it's hard to know. You listen to different reports. I'm not an expert, but I see 6 to 8 months. This is going to be in and out. And there are a lot of people are now questioning. You see Twitter's questioning. You see Facebook are questioning whether working from home is beneficial. I see my son, who's a developer with a major bank, and he's no comeback date for his into his office, so he's going to be working from home forever. Okay. Not forever, but for a long time anyway.
Yeah, so we have a follow-up question to that, Adrian, that's come in from one of our attendees. So how do you propose companies manage the communication of the change of process to customers during the integration phase?
In reality, it's not a complicated change that you're looking for here. What you're doing is you're saying to the supplier to send the invoices in by email. That's really as simple as that. That's the end of their thing. 99.999% of packages have a button that sort of says print invoice or send by email. Send it by email, put it to the email account, and the invoice will process from that. And that's basically the change for the suppliers. The supplier change is really simple, but as a user, what you end up getting is an awful lot better than that. You end up getting, when the invoice actually comes in, you're getting much more information than you would have been getting in the past. I'm just going to switch here and show you an invoice when it comes in from typical. I wouldn't get the wrong one. So when an invoice comes into InShip, what you have is a process where you can clean up the invoice. You can see the actual document behind. This is a PO invoice, so it's actually showing you that it matches to the GRN. And you can add comments to it from predefined comments, other comments on it. It's actually highlighting that one of the line items is overcharged. And this will basically highlight up here at the top when you actually go and open the box and let you know what the document and let you know what the overcharge is. But if you're happy, click to approve it. That's the process. But you could have rejected it, put it on hold, reject it and send it back to the supplier, put it on hold, and you can forward it to somebody else to look at. And like even with the one thing that's really strong, and sort of we've had people in lockdown sort of looking at the price watch system, and what they really they jumped upon was the fact that we can automatically forward invoices off to different people for review if there's a price increase. So instead of going through line by line on a particular invoice, you can actually go and automatically send that invoice on to somebody for them to review and decide if they want to pay or not. And just another thing, just above there, it's not actually highlighted here that this invoice, it's letting you know that this invoice appears in a statement. So when the statement came in, it's actually it's joining the two documents up together and letting people see that you can actually, the two are linked. It automatically does a statement reconciliation and allows you to request missing invoices from the supplier. But in reality, and I can't say this for the companies that are here because I don't know all of the companies that are here, but a lot of missing invoices tend to be missing within an organization because they haven't been printed out or somebody's mislaid them. But within InShip, they're always within InShip, and so they're lost. And like that's a PO invoice. But if I sort of switch over and have a quick, I'm not having a look at my slides today, and have a quick look at a nominal ledger invoice, what we're looking at a nominal ledger invoice is we're looking at automatically coding that nominal ledger based on a delivery, where it's delivered to, based on line items. We're also watching out for price increases. Even though this is not a PO invoice, we're still watching out for price increases. So if you have a service provider, or like InShip, if InShip is actually invoicing you and InShip increased its prices, you can actually see what the price increase is. Just a second ago, I'd sort of talk for a second on this. It actually shows you that if you were looking at the price increase, something increased in price, you can drill down and see the original invoice that's on, so it's automatically linking those two together. But you can also, if you click into it, and it's going to happen now in a second, you can actually see the historical spend on that particular item, and you can see where the price has moved on that particular item, all from your desk, all from sitting down without actually doing anything. So this is the piece of information that, like, so people are given loads of invoices. I would have past be given piles of invoices to approve and sign, and you're nearly just signing them because you don't know what you're looking at. But here, you're looking at everything that you need to look at. You can drill down. You can do Google searches on a line item to see what the price is or what you're looking at, because sometimes you don't know what you're buying depending on your position within an organization. But at all times, you just have all the communication tools to forward that, and actually to forward that on for someone else to approve it, to reject it, to put it on hold, etc., etc. So you have a lot of options and ways of dealing with an invoice.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we have another question, Adrian, that's come in saying, do you pre-enter purchase info ready for the invoice when it comes in?
Yeah, what we would do, that's a very good question. Sort of, I'm trying to cram in a lot of information, so I'm missing a couple of things. So on a purchase order invoice, what actually happens is we link up with the purchase order system. And that can be even an Excel spreadsheet in some people's systems, but the majority of the time it's a proper purchase order or ERP system. And we actually get the orders in off the system. This particular one here we're looking at, this PO is actually broken over 3 GRNs, and we're matching this invoice to one of the GRNs because we see that it matches, and we also know that the other two, because these are highlighted in orange, the other two parts of this PO have matched to a previous GRN. So you're actually sort of seeing it's automatically linking them, showing you the PO, showing you breaking it down into different GRNs, matching the invoices to that. And in fact, if you actually sort of on the live system, I could show you that it actually, you have a direct link to the invoice, the other invoice on that PO, where you can see what was on that, and you can actually see the physical invoice, etc., etc. Or you can even download, you see here, there's a little icon here that you can actually download all the transactions, both sides on that particular purchase order. So you have a lot of functionality there, and it's what's really key on that is that not everyone needs that functionality. Some people the predefined drop-down items is really important because they want to categorize, and there's no way of automating that category, and they know there's no other way. Or that could be a predefined actionable comment. So if it was a recharge, for example, if someone clicked recharge, that document can be sent off to somebody else for them to confirm that the recharge took place or didn't take place. So there's these functionalities that you can actually have within the system, and they can be basically set up automatically because we know that that supplier always has to go to that person, because it always has to be recharged, or it can be done based on a line item, or it can be done sort of on an ad hoc basis. So there's a lot of, it's all about doing the challenges and dealing with the challenges based on how different big businesses work.
Cool. So I hope that answers your question that came in. Yeah, feel free to add any more questions. If anyone's out there who's got more questions, keep pinging them in. We'll keep Adrian on his toes. So, Adrian, I have a question for you around integrations. Now, most of the systems that I've worked with previously in the past, they need to be able to talk to other things. Where does InShip stand on integrations?
InShip actually integrates with about 30 odd systems. I just had a slide here. It basically shows you some of the bigger name systems that we integrate with. But we integrate with other systems as well, and these can be either big systems or small systems. But like sort of the InShip, like sort of one thing, because of my experience in the past in delivering IT projects and my understanding of things as an accountant, when we actually built InShip, we sort of said it has to be willing to receive information from a number of different ways, and actually send it out in numerous different ways. So we're very, very flexible and very fast in actually sort of putting a new integration on. And in reality, it's something that we are always trying to do. When a project comes that we've never integrated with that system before, it's not a problem. It's basically it's something that we actually see as a benefit. So we're always going after those particular items.
Okay. We've had one come in asking around SAP as to whether there's an integration already, or if that's one that you've had conversations with.
It's one that we're in the process of doing at this moment in time. Where we're actually, I think we're quite far down the road on it. So it's in play at the moment.
Okay, we've got a great question here. How new does the accounts package program need to be?
Believe it or not,
excellent question.
I know this. I'm gonna actually, the Sage is on this. We integrate into a number of different Sage products, and that's they're representing them. And Sage has a product that's very old that's called Taskbooks, and we were basically writing our integration for Sage at the same time we were doing Taskbooks. This is a good while ago, and the Taskbook integration, which is an old system, was done in a 45-minute break that the developer took because Sage was doing his head in, which is the newer system. So the answer is, like, sort of, we integrate sort of, some of the older systems can be easier to integrate with, but you may be limited in what you can do. So they can be faster to integrate with, but other ones will sort of, they all seem to have something written ready to receive data, and we hook up into that, or we talk to the people who own the system and who write the system, and we try and work a path between the two of us how to deliver that.
Yeah,
a lot of just on sort of newer systems. I know the question was around old systems. On a lot of newer systems, they have APIs, which are basically, for the sake of, I don't know, people don't understand. I'm going to assume people don't know what an API is. But an API is what developers would call an endpoint. This is something that they have to send the data to. And a lot of systems would have these endpoints exposed. Now, exposed in a way that's very, very secure, right? The passwords and the codes to get into them are 30 digits long. They're quite complex. But once you have that link, it's actually very easy to actually write an API. And those systems are saying, write into us. They're asking for this stuff to be sent into them. They don't even want to talk to you. They give you the manual how to do it. Now, there's a lot of security and controls, et cetera, around it. But sort of on the basic of development, it's actually quite open. But when someone starts using it, there's a lot of security to make sure that they have to sign up and agree to what they're doing.
Okay, I hope that answers your question around the old accounts packages. We'll take this offline as well. We'll have a chat to you about your specific accounts package, just in case there's any spanners there. But we'll have a good chat about that following the webinar today. We have another question in around how long does it take to get up and running?
That depends, but like we have had people up and running within hours, and some people it may take a couple of days or weeks. It depends on how complicated their system. Like we're doing a big retailer in Ireland at the moment, and their onboarding process is going to set into basically 6 weeks. And that's because the information's coming in, there's multi-currency stuff's coming in from China, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's a complicated project. But a standard project for even like sort of even something that might be a multi-retailer that doesn't have these particular issues, it can be done in a matter of basically a number of hours. And setting up the system goes live. We do test links between us and the accounts package, and then it's a matter of building the templates. But we do that and help with the onboarding in that process, and at the same time, the user has access to a lot of videos, and we do direct training as well. But like, so direct training is actually done in quite a smart way. That we're going to do a training on this piece. We ask you to watch a video before the training, so that when we go in to do the actual training, even though we're going to cover quite close to the same ground, you come back with intelligent questions. You're not learning something from you, you're actually doing it. And that way we're reinforcing what you've learned. The process is faster. You have the videos afterwards. And a lot of times actually when we're doing a training session, we video the training session for you. Don't worry, no cameras. So we basically video the training session, so you can actually basically take that away with you. Just on something I was thinking about there in relation to the multi-retailer, just to give people an idea, there is a part of InShip. I just slightly alluded to it when I was showing the PO invoice, which I'll just ping up there again for a second. And sorry, not the PO invoice. I'm not having a look at that. Just give me 2 seconds.
Don't worry, we all get IT issues like this, Adrian.
Yeah, and I'm having screen IT issues. It's showing me. See, hold on a second. Let's try this again. Anyway, I'll talk my way through it rather than mess around with the IT. If a company has multiple branches, and we work with a number of retailers that have multiple branches, and we see on the invoice a delivery address, the invoice can be sent off to a store manager or a district manager for him to reprove and review and approve. And then the nominal ledger or the cost center, the department codes or the business intelligence codes, everyone has a different name for this thing, can be automatically changed based on actually seeing that. So like there would be a number of retailers we would have that would have multiple deliveries in a day. And batches of invoices come in, but those invoices come into InShip, and based on the AI is actually automatically coding it. And that could be on a line basis, or it could be on just a line and store basis, or just a store basis. The invoices are sent down a route based on that particular invoice type. So you could have a store that goes direct to a manager. You could have other stores that goes to a district manager. They may all route up to a certain person. There can be limits set in play. There's a lot of complication can be set in place just to control the business. It may seem complicated at the start, but it's actually quite easy to handle. Or you can say no, it just goes to one person, they approve it. That's it. So it's up to the user to decide what they want to do on that.
Okay. We have another question in, Adrian. If you are using purchase orders, would the system recognize if the supplier had inadvertently charged you on 2 separate invoices for the same purchase order?
Yes, it would, because when you match against the purchase order, that purchase order is actually removed from the process. So the purchase order is there. It will either match based on a GRN or it's matched on the purchase order. And it will, like, sort of, if it's matched on the purchase order, it will say, listen, we've already matched against this, so this one's closed off. Even if it's partial, it's actually going to show you the 2 partials and it doesn't add up. If it's on a GRN, again, if it matches against one particular GRN, that GRN is removed from the system and it won't actually match again. So it's sort of, it is a fail safe. You can't do it. So you can't, they can't charge in two different invoices, or they can't duplicate send you duplications of invoices.
Okay. Okay. Oh, and we have everyone's favorite question. How much does it cost, Adrian?
Basically, that depends on the volume of invoices that somebody's going through and the complications of it. But like we've looked at competitors. There's other products out here. There's very simple products, and there's very complicated products. And our pricing, it's closer. It gives you basically the functionality of the dearer systems, but it's much closer to the pricing of the cheaper systems. Okay. So we're on the low end price wise, but we're on the high end. In reality, we have not come and seen anybody with features that we don't really have, and have the features that we have. We tend to be ahead of everybody in the way where we are.
Yeah, and I'm assuming the pricing would be bespoke to different sized companies, how many invoices you're processing. Is it a user-based model?
No, we purposely are not. It's a document-based model. It's like we build packages around sort of between $250 and $500 a month, $1,000 a month to $2,000 a month, etc. But we do not have any limitation on the number of users that you want to do. You can have as many users as you want, and those users can have different levels of security. Like a good example of that would be you can have high-end security that can see documents that float above. So even the accountant, the financial controller can't see these documents. These are their board documents, or these are the HR documents that may be floating above everything else. Then you have the normal level, which can see everything but those high security documents. And those people can see everything and set everything up. And they're basically the administrators. Then there's the employee stroke manager who can see every document but can't set stuff up, and can approve documents that are sent to them to approve. And then you've got the lowest element, to the approvers, and they can only ever see documents that are sent to you. So if you're an approver and I sent you 2 invoices, you could approve those 2 invoices. If you did a search of InShip for a company that had 1 million documents on it and you put in no parameters, you get 2 documents back. If somebody gave you a link to another document, you wouldn't be able to see it, etc. You're totally blind to every single document. So if I sent you a link accidentally, sort of say, hey, have a look at this document, and I gave you the InShip link, nah, can't see it. An action would have to be put on it for you. I could forward that document to you for you to look at, but I couldn't actually just send you a straightforward link. Yeah. So the security is quite high in that.
Yeah, I mean that's very good for security features, especially in larger organisations, even in smaller ones. I know we all want to trust our employees to do the right thing, but sometimes that's just not the case. So
yeah, and like what we have is we have a lot of auditable actions, and you can do searches. It's not front end stuff. It's not front end. It's not back end stuff. Sorry, but it's not normal access stuff. But we can, like, users say, hey, I want to see what Dan's done. I wouldn't trust Dan, which we don't. So we can actually go and sort of see everything that he's approved, downloaded, etc. You can see that. So you can see basically everything that Dan has actually done in the past, if that happens. And like the world we're moving into, so that is quite important, because if we're moving into remote working, like the concept of giving someone a pile of invoices to take to their house to actually process, and then how are you going to get them to that house? Because Dan had to approve his bit, and George had to approve his bit, and Adrian had to approve their bit. You have a total mess. So, like, are people not going to get paid on time? Might be a problem at the moment because the cash is tight for everyone. But like, at least you want to know what liabilities you're building, even if if you don't have the resources to pay it. You know what you want to be able to plan for the future. And like, sort of, there's also the question at the moment, especially within an organization, of us handling things and meeting on a face-to-face basis. So we're handling invoices, and like, sort of, is there a transfer issue when there's no you can't get a human virus from a computer. And also, like, sort of, like, in relation to viruses coming from emails, with InShip and the invoices going into InShip, it's away from your system. So we're managing the viruses and we're managing all of that before it actually presents itself to you. So we're giving you that level of extra security, making sure that that's being blocked off. And like sort of because the fact that like it's, you know, people sending in invoices as documents and someone opens it and it turns into a virus. Like because we've got AI and because we're automating that whole process, we know what documents to open up and what not to open up. And when there is a problem, we know that there's a problem, and we're dealing with that problem for hundreds of clients, not just for you. So we're dealing with it I can't say in a better way, but a lot of the times we would be dealing with it in a more efficient and more secure way.
Perfect. I'm just conscious of the time a little bit, Adrian. So I'm just going to open it up to the floor, to the attendees. If there's any more outstanding questions that anyone would like to ask. I have one, just while we wait for those, around how you support your customers, especially in the times we're having at the moment. How does the support side work?
And the support side works in two ways. If you I just try and see, can I show the screen again? See, do I have a bit of luck on that? If I don't, I'll have, no, that slide just won't. This is PowerPoint, it's not InShip. Try to blame somebody else. At the top of every screen, there is a button, which is a question mark that actually lets us know exactly where you are, because we would spend more time searching documents and searching for documents than anything else. So if you click that button, we know exactly what you are, and you don't have to write too much information. You can just sort of say whatever the problem is. And you don't have to say, hey, with reference to the Joe Blogs invoice number 1 dated this, and they just sort of say, this invoice, this is wrong, or I can't get this right. We'll have a look at it. And like sort of like one of the things that we carry out on every single day is basically our ticket report. First thing in the morning, we review our ticket report. And to be honest with you, especially during this moment in time, it's been 1 or 2 tickets going over from one day to the next day. It's normally dealt with very, very quickly. As well as that, there's always a relationship, because with the trainer, there's a relationship, and there's normally a relationship with other people within the organization. You can ring up InShip and we'll basically, we'll deal with the query for you. We're not hiding behind the internet and we only accept this. And then on top of that, you have the videos that can help you through the process. But like, no problem receiving tickets, no problem taking calls. I think people like the tickets as well, because I have a problem with this invoice. I can send a ticket and move on to the next. I don't have to stop for half an hour. And then magically it gets fixed and we let you know it's sorted.
Perfect. Okay, so there's no more questions have popped in. So just to summarize what we've learned from today, Adrian, I mean, if you could give us a quick summary of the kind of best practice that people should be doing now just to combat this issue, and we can leave it there.
I'd sort of say the one thing, because this is going to go on, even if you're not going to look at a system like InShip, as I sort of say, definitely one of the best practices is to get all your suppliers to send in invoices to one central location. Like with InShip, we give you an email account, but we sort of say to someone who doesn't want to do that is have an email account which is invoices at your business. So all your invoices are accumulating at that particular point. So that means that you know where they are and you can track them and you can deal with them. Unfortunately, you're going to have to print them out and store them and still go through all of those steps. But that's a good basic sort of place to actually start, just to start off. What you have to do after that is going to be to get approvals. You can deal with that whichever way makes sense for your organization. But I think probably the core thing to do at the moment is to get everything to be sent to one point, to remove the paper side of it. And like long term, that is great sort of great advantages. You're getting the full audit trail and everything that happens on a document when you're not receiving in the paper invoice, because you have an original email to go against. So like I'd sort of say that's probably a really strong start.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Adrian, for your time and explaining everything around that. Just to let the attendees know, I will send you all out a quick follow-up email after this, just to gauge your feedback, positive, hopefully positive, but any kind of constructive feedback as well would be much appreciated. And if you've got any outstanding questions as well, by all means, send them across to me. But once again, thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Adrian.
No problem. Thank you very much for attending, guys. I hope this was helpful, and it gave you some ideas what to do in this time, or sort of even a normal time.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. And we will leave you to your day to go and enjoy the rest of the sunshine.